How optimistic are you about your chances in the general election against the Speaker, and how is the campaign going in general?
OK, the Speaker, the great Mr Bercow, the man that had planned since 2001 to become Speaker of the House of Commons, and of course by definition anybody that really covets a job in public life is the wrong person in the first place. And that's why this great tradition, of course, of the Speaker being dragged from the chamber reluctantly to the chair. This man had plotted it all along from 2001. My view is, without being too personal about it, but my view is that Bercow represents all that is worst in politics today. That's very personal, I suppose. But most peculiar chap, you know. I mean, doesn't come from any sort of great privileged background, and now sort of walks around speaking as if he's John Gielgud. It's quite extraordinary to listen to him. It really is. I think Bercow is a political fraud in every sense. He planned to be the Speaker. He cynically dropped all of his old policies, and one or two, like the Monday Club, perhaps he ought to have dropped, because the Monday Club of 1985 that he was a member of make Griffin look quite moderate. So maybe there's one or two aspects of growing up that were a good thing, but he very cynically gave up all the things he believed in, became New Labour, became Blairite. He was on the board of the Bruges Group at one point in time as a Eurosceptic. Then he backed Ken Clarke for the leadership. Then he speculated in public that he might join the Labour Party. And then, lo and behold, it's the Labour MPs that vote him in as Speaker. So I think that he doesn't represent political principle. I also think that as a Speaker of the House of Commons, who has set himself up to be a modern-day Speaker, he's going to tour the country, Bercow, in his built-up high heels, and he'll tour the country talking about Parliament and democracy and how important it is that we reinvigorate Parliament, when at no moment in time will he even mention the fact that even before the Lisbon Treaty goes through, that 75% of our laws are made somewhere else, and he won't even talk about it. So I think there are many good reasons for me to stand in that constituency. There, of course, won't be a Labour candidate, because they've virtually got a Labour MP already. I don't think the Lib Dems are going to stand. There'll be all sorts of eccentric candidates that do stand in the by-election. And of course, I mean, here's me saying that. Just a quick sort of tangent, if I can. UKIP was formed in September 1993, and I was a founder member of it. And 6 weeks after the party was formed, I turned on the radio, 6 o'clock in the morning, Today programme, to hear the news that the Conservative Member of Parliament for Eastleigh, one Stephen Milligan, had been found dead overnight. And this was the famous story of dressed up in women's clothes with the sort of ligature thing round the neck and the orange in the mouth. I mean, it may be normal practice to some in a libertarian society, I don't know. I chose to call it the first ever case of vitamin C poisoning. So UKIP had been going for 6 weeks, and I stood in that by-election. I was UKIP's first ever candidate for a completely unknown party. And I got a few people together, and we designed a leaflet, and we went out and sort of gave out these leaflets, and I turned up on the night of the count, and one of those big Lib Dem sweeping wins from a seat that had been Tory forever. And I'm proud to tell all of you that in my first ever attempt to stand, I beat Screaming Lord Such by 198 votes. Not a bad start. Not a bad start. So who am I to criticise eccentric candidates that come from nowhere? Now, I think the Buckingham thing will be a simple two-horse race. I think amongst those people in the constituency who are switched on to politics and care about these things, I'm going to do incredibly well. And there was a big poll on Conservative Home not long ago that showed that a vast majority of Conservative members who contribute to Conservative Home would in fact prefer to vote for me in the privacy of the polling booth than vote for John Bercow. Beyond that, what can I say? I'm going to give it my best shot. I don't know. There is a massive Conservative majority there, but they voted for a Conservative. They got somebody who actually betrayed the principles that he said he was standing for in 2005. I don't think he's a very popular Speaker of the House of Commons. I don't think he's a very popular man amongst his own constituency party. He, of course, will try like hell to maintain his position, but I'm going to give it a go. More broadly, how will UKIP do in the general election? Well, I just don't know the answer to that. You know, what we have proved is that we can do damn well in a European election where there is proportional representation. And I do feel proud of the fact that I led the party on June the 4th to coming second in the entire United Kingdom. And that's not bad for a party that just scraped past screaming Lord Such a few years ago. I mean, no, I mean, seriously, it is some achievement. Can we replicate Hull? Can we replicate Newcastle-under-Lyme? Can we replicate Plymouth and those places where, in the European elections, we came first? I don't know the answer to that. What I do know is that UKIP's growing, and I think the evidence for that was the one electoral test there's been since the Euro elections was the Norwich North by-election, you know, where we scored a similar kind of percentage in the first-past-the-post by-election that we clearly couldn't win, as we've done in the European elections. I think UKIP is growing. I think UKIP is more united than it was before. I think people's fears about UKIP, you know, was it somehow a more extreme organisation wearing different clothes? I think all of those things have now been allayed. And I think the politics of independence from Brussels, the politics of direct democracy, the politics of less government, the politics of more freedom of the individual will manifest themselves over the next few years. Whether that's through UKIP or some successor organisation, I don't know. But I do feel confident that, at least in terms of public opinion, the tide has turned.
To find out more about who we are and what we stand for, go to the UK Independence Party website at www.ukip.org.